Notice how if I open up one of our test classes, here's the one from when we were testing system functions, we have this reference to assert equals. And when you're using PHP unit, this will be referenced countless times. This assert true, this assert count, this assert equals, this assert greater than. This can sometimes get a little redundant. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say assert equals or assert count, and we don't constantly have to reference a method on the class? Well, in fact, we can do that. But first, before we make changes, let's run PHP unit, make sure we are at green. Great, we are. And now, if I open up our vendor directory where we installed PHP unit through Composer, you'll see that within the PHP unit folder, PHP unit, framework, assert, functions, there's this class that contains all of the necessary functions just as general functions rather than class methods. And they're still going to call those methods behind the scenes, but these simply provide some helpful wrappers. So why don't we pull in this file? Within our test class, to make use of it, all we need to do is require it. So we'll say require vendor, and I'm just going to repeat the path that we just reviewed. PHP unit, framework, assert, functions.php. Now I should be able to remove the this reference and simply call it as a function. I run it and it looks like it couldn't find the file. Let's just remove that. Or if you want to be explicit, you could also do something like that. So get the current directory, then move up, then go into the vendor folder. That would work too. PHP unit again, and we're at green. So now we have this easy way to say assert count to foo bar, and we're not constantly having to reference this. PHP unit, and that still passes. Great. So here's what we will do next. I'm going to yank this, and instead of including it before every test class, which we don't want to do again, why don't we instead reference it within our bootstrap file? So now what I'm going to do is within a split, let's open up tests, and I'm going to call this bootstrap.php. And now the first thing we're going to do is require vendor/autoload.php. We're going to create a custom bootstrap though. And now I'm going to paste in that reference to the functions because again, I don't want to request that for every single test class. So now when PHP unit runs, it's going to pull in the autoloader and it's also going to pull in our functions.php file. However, if we try to run this, we're going to get call to undefined function acme assert equals, so that's not working. Well, don't forget, we've created this new bootstrap file. We now need to tell PHP unit where to find it. Rather than referencing autoload directly, we're going to reference test/bootstrap, which will then call the autoloader itself and do anything else that it needs to do. Now that this is saved, if we run it again, we're going to get green, but now we have the ability to, within our test classes, use these function versions of the assertion methods, and I think that's a lot easier when you're following test-first development.